Hey guys, welcome back to Digital Dreamscape. So I had a subscriber request that I make a video covering a little bit more advanced overclocking than my previous video, Overclocking Made Easy, where I covered just quick, real basic settings for beginners that maybe don't have any experience overclocking anything. So we just went over some basic XMP profiles. And so in this video, I'm going to cover some of the more advanced, kind of intermediate settings, if you will. So we're going into our overclock settings here. Now we're going to do some presets that are kind of real simple presets, so you don't have to get into the expert advanced configuration. So this is these are memory triad settings for the X570. So basically these are all pre-configured speeds with preset timings. So right next to our DDR4 is our frequency. So we're looking at the 3600s right now, and next to those are the individual timings. So the smaller the number on those, the faster the latency, the less latency that we're going to have, but also the higher voltage that it's going to run. So I set it to the fastest one possible at 3600 megahertz, and you can see our voltage is in the red, 1.45, which is a little bit too high for this board, and it doesn't like it. So obviously that's why it's gone red on us. So I'm going to go back, and you can see my timings are in the 14s with that 3600. So we're going to go up to the 816s, and as you can see, it's 1.35 volts now. So that's going to give us a little bit more stable. And I'm actually now bumping it up to the 18s just because I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to run stable at in the 16s. So bumped it up to the 18s just to make sure we're going to run stable. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're new to overclocking and you haven't got much experience with it, try to, well, first off, read directions on your particular motherboard, because the BIOS settings are a little bit different for everything, for all the different manufacturers and chipsets. So you want to make sure that you go over your board specific directions. And then there are also overclocking calculators available that you can download, and you can put in all your hardware parameters, and the calculator will give you optimal settings to overclock your RAM to. So that way you don't have to go through, like I've been doing in this video, of trying out the different presets to see what's stable and what's not. The calculators can give you a pretty good idea of what's going to work and what isn't going to work for you. So that's also an option. So I've set the RAM to a 3600 with 18 timings, and we're going to see, when I save it, the computer reboots, and if it likes the settings, it'll load Windows, and if it doesn't, we're going to see something else happen. So after our reboot here, we see that we've defaulted to 2133 megahertz, and turned out that when I picked our preset, that I picked the one with a higher CL, and that's the first number in our memory timings. You can see the one that I selected is an 18, and we want the 16. And so because I did that, the computer didn't like those timings, and so it kicked it down to a lower preset. So I went ahead and changed that, and we went with 16s across the board there and gave it a reboot. And so we're just going to try a different timing, still 3600 megahertz, just a different timing configuration. So we're going to give that a reboot and see if the computer likes it. And there you go, it hits 3600 megahertz. So we know that at least on the boot up, the computer's okay with that setting. Granted, that's not necessarily a determining factor for when we get into gaming and pushing a lot of data through the RAM and all that stuff, but it's given us a baseline. At least we know that the computer will boot and operate at that with that particular RAM's or overclock setting. So we'll give that a go. So all of these different settings that I'm going over you can configure those if you get into advanced overclocking. I don't recommend doing that unless you see, these are all the configurable details. If you really want to get into some hardcore overclocking, I am not an expert at that stuff, so I don't get into these settings and modify them. And really, I don't see, I mean, unless you just really enjoy overclocking and tinkering with that stuff, I really don't see an upside to spending hours and hours trying to fine-tune all these memory clock settings. I've gamed for years. I've done a lot of the preset configurations that I've discussed, and my computers have operated great and had great results and great speeds, and I haven't fried my computers. They don't blow up. I don't cook CPUs or cook motherboards or any of that stuff. As a matter of fact, my last builds lasted 7 years, just and so I don't see a big upside to tinkering with all those minute settings and trying to absolutely maximize the performance of my memory, because in reality, everyday use and gaming and this and that, you know, gaining a few nanoseconds of latency, you're probably never even going to notice the difference. So that being said, you can get leaps and bounds of performance based off of just going from like a factory default that's a really low frequency, like 2133. Obviously, if we jump up to 3600, we're going to gain performance. So I see some value in that. So anyhow, that's it for this video. Do me a favor and reach down and click the subscribe button. Also the like button, that'd be great. Look forward to some future content as I'm constantly adding to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy gaming.